Okay, we're going to start by making a slip knot. Then we're going to attach it to the first peg. There's your anchor peg, and the first peg is to the right. Now, if you are one that likes to attach your slip knot to the anchor peg, that's okay too. I choose to just attach it right to the loom. Then we're going to start and do an E-wrap. And what we're doing is making a scarf on a circular loom. So we can make this as wide or as narrow as we want. There's really no rules. It's all adjustable to who you're making it for and how thick or wide you want your scarf. I'm going to go ahead and stop mine right here. And now I'm going to go back the other way. Now I'm not going to do the E-wrap on the first peg. I'm going to wrap it over. Put it in front, just like that. Just put it in front and then do my small E's, going the other way. So I'm going back to my first peg, and this is how we're casting on. Now I'm going to hold my working yarn, take my yarn tool, start with the first peg, take the bottom loop over the top. I'm going to do this the whole way. Again, we're just taking the bottom loop and placing it over the top, so we're knitting over. Okay, again, we are just knitting off, taking the bottom loop over the top all the way around the loom. Now we're going to lay our working yarn over the first peg and then do the rest of the pegs. We're going to use the E-wrap stitch. One thing I do want to point out is when we get to the end, we're going to wrap it completely. We're all the way around. Once we get to the end, we are going to skip the first peg and wrap around again. So I will show you. I just want to point that out now that we're starting our next row. So this is the part that I'm talking about. We're cast it on. This is our anchor peg. Now we're going to continue. We're not going to wrap this first peg. So we're going to go to the second peg, wrap, secure your working yarn, and start to knit over. All right, push this down. Okay, so here we are down here. So now we're going to skip wrapping this bag. And we do this to have clean, straight edges. And it's called slip stitch. So again, we will secure our yarn and wrap over or knit over. And push down our yarn. So now we're on this side. So we would skip wrapping this peg. So skip this peg, start with this peg. And we will continue this process until you get your scarf as long as you want it. So secure your yarn and then you start to knit over. And that is how we slip stitch our first peg, making the side of our scarf. We're on to our next step now. We've gotten our scarf as long as we want it. So we're going to find the end and the individual stitches. I'm going to reach through the loom and attach the stitch onto the loom, onto the peg. So I'm going to match the first stitch. I did make my scarf a little bit wider. I ended up not liking, it was a little bit too thin. So I actually started over and I made it a little bit wider. So I'm going to start with the first peg and attach the first stitch. And again, it's very similar to doing the brim of a hat. Each individual stitch you can point out, as you can see, and attach it right onto the pegs. We're going to go the whole entire way around. So the entire scarf is going to now be attached to the loom. Okay, I have the remaining stitches that I'm going to attach, and they all even out I'm going to pull the last one. It's attached to the slip knot, so I'm going to have to loosen that up a little, and that will be the last peg. So they're now all attached. Now I'm going to take my yarn hook, start at the beginning, and just take the bottom over the top. So I'm going to knit over the entire loom. I just wanted to mention you could also make, this is how you could make an infinity scarf, just make it longer. Now that we're done, we're going to start and do our bind off. So to start, we're going to wrap this peg and the second peg. Then we're going to take the second peg, put it on top of the first peg. Then we're going to take the bottom loop over the top, make a stitch, take that off your loom and move it over to the left. For the second one, we're going to put our yarn in front, knit over, remove the yarn, bring it over to the next peg, take the bottom stitch, put it over the top, remove from the peg, put it to the peg to the left. Next peg, do the same thing. We're going to repeat this process the entire way around. And this again is the basic bind off. Tighten your yarn. Remove the peg. On to the next one. And this is actually getting our project off of the loom in a neat way. And again, it's called the basic bind off. once you get into the pattern of it, it's not as difficult. It's not difficult really, it's just remembering it. But once you get into it, it's actually quite easy. As you can see, we only have a few more left to go. So continue this until you go all the way around. And this again will take your project completely off the loom. Just follow this pattern, just this. Okay, I have worked my way all the way down doing the basic bind off. So we're at our last peg and the loop is still on. So I'm going to cut our working yarn. Take it off the peg, and then I'm going to slip the working yarn into, and tighten it up like that. Then I'm going to take a darning needle, work in my loose ends. And that will conclude our project. If you have any questions, please leave them below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.